So today I'm gonna break down how I composited this advanced anime style VFX on Not Video app using some simple tricks basically like what you see in After Effects. And for those of you who saw this video tutorial I posted a month ago, you might find this workflow very easy. The footage is already color graded, so I won't be doing much of that. The first thing we're going to do instead is to split the clip and rename them Rotoscope and Background. Then move the background behind the rotoscope clip. For the background, make sure there is little to no physical movement in the scene and try to keep the camera as steady as possible or perhaps using a tripod. Next, I go to the AI property and select Smart Mating. Add the power points to the precise area you want to composite the effect. In my case, it's obviously the hand. Once you're done, click Analyze to start the cropping process. To reduce the rough edges, lower the feather value to 0. Next, I added directional blur, I reduce the intensity and adjust some necessary settings. So the goal here is to distort the subject as much as possible. To complement that, I also added the fractal noise effect, and with this I was able to create that advanced skin distortion you mostly see in supernatural films. Next, I added the smoke effect and I increased the intensity as much as possible. Then I changed the color to that dark corrupted purple look and reduce the speed to restore the lost edges. I moved the smoke panel above the fractal noise effect. As you can see, here's the before and after. Moving on, I went to the nature property and added the fire effect. With this, I was able to achieve the impossible. To my preference, I adjusted the intensity, blending, distortion, speed amount, and lastly, changed the color to white. Then I added the lens blur effect. I enabled the highlights, set the blur quality to high, then reduce the blur amount. Next, I added the turbulent distortion to improve the distortion on the surface of the object. I changed the distortion type to polar and radial, turn off the edges, and slightly adjust the distortion amount. Next, I added the invert, and with this, I was able to create that terrifying wave effect within the subject's skin. Then again, I added another fire effect. I tweaked the settings and try as much as possible to blend it into the hand. After that, I changed the color to match the initial dark purple look we started compositing with. I adjusted the center and resized the scale to create a flaming ring around the subject hand. You can also save these settings as a preset. That way you can add as many rings as possible or create more style based on your preference. Next, I added the saber edge effect. I reduced the spread, distance, and thickness. Then try as much as possible to blend the colors with the current color palette. I enabled the flash and changed the blend mode to blending. So based on the look I was aiming for, I changed the distortion type to vine, increased the strength, noise scale, along with other settings as well. With this, I was able to create motion particles around the edges of the subject hand. Next, I added the force effect, spread it over the subject hand, and added some smoothness to it. I also adjusted the transparency to make some areas more visible. Then I added the water effect for additional enhancement, which also helps simulate a liquid energy flow. To take things to the next level, I added the emboss effect and moved it to the top below the directional blur. I adjusted the direction and relief values to my preference, then enable invert along with the black and white option. So if you're not satisfied with this look, you can always move the emboss effect above the directional blur to fix it. So before proceeding to the final phase of this composition, I'm going to preview everything we have done so far to make sure it's all aligned properly. So far, everything looks good except for the beginning of the clip, which wasn't rotoscope. And to fix that, I duplicated the clip, renamed it Transition, and turn off all the effects on the transition clip. The reason I named the clip transition is because I'm going to use it to blend into the effects, and that's where dissolve comes into play. The interpolation settings allows you to adjust the amount of frames visible on the screen. Then I changed the dissolve type to what I feel works best for me. You can also change the direction of the dissolve depending on the angle you are aiming for. I then inverted the direction, increased the width amount, and changed the color to roughly match both the skin tone and the effect itself. Lastly, I changed the edge behavior to mirror. To create the transition, I added keyframes and animated the interpolation so it eases into the effect. Then I trimmed the rotoscope clip to remove the effect from the unsolved areas, and with that, here's the playback. To finalize this composition, I'm going to add a wave particle effect around the subject hand to make it look more cinematic. I changed the blend mode to remove the black background, then adjusted the position and size. And now I'm going to add some keyframes to track the subject's movement. And once that's set up, I added the blue tint filter. The current goal here is to sync both effect colors without losing too much detail. I'm also going to add the shape mask, then move it above the transformation panel so the mask doesn't move sideways when repositioning the layer. Now I'm going to feather the edges of the layer so it blends nicely with the effect. Next, I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So what we are going to do here is to sync some camera shake into the scene. And to do that, I'm going to add the old shake effect. I enabled the tiling and motion blur options, then increase the frequency for speed. I added keyframes to the amplitude, also known as intensity, and eliminated the shake to gradually start once the subject starts moving. So I almost forgot, I'm supposed to reduce the opacity of the particle effects and add a bit of Gaussian blur to match the camera depth of field. Then I added the glow effect, adjust the values to properly brighten things up, also change the lighting color to match the effect color. And then next I added the sharpen to bring out more detail and clarity to the effect. And finally, I'm going to add some fake motion blur to the rotoscope clip by enabling the frame blending. And yep, that's pretty much it. Thanks for your ongoing support, have a wonderful day, and peace.